You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. This ominous and somewhat threatening phrase originated in a 2016 video by the World Economic Forum, summarizing an essay written by Danish politician Ida Auken. The phrase has been used by critics who accuse the WEF of desiring restrictions on ownership of private property.
Now, this phrase, which you may be familiar with in comment sections on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, was also found prevalent in another comment section of some recent articles that were released announcing some new housing news. That news stated that Canada's largest landowner plans to bring over 50 buildings to market as affordable housing units. Now, on the surface, that looks and sounds pretty good, but as we do a deeper dive, which we like to do on this show, we have to ask the question, is it actually a good thing?
Deep dives. We are once again scuba diving into the new federal initiative aimed at tackling Canada's housing crisis. The government announced 56 properties for conversion into affordable housing. We are going to explore the implications and potential impacts of this plan.
What does it mean for the housing market and for affordability across Canada?
Could this be the key to solving the housing crunch? And why do people seem so upset and concerned about it?
And also, what is the government's real estate portfolio made up of, and what types of buildings are these that they're proposing?
Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Investor Podcast. My name is Daniel Foch.
And I'm Nick Hill. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's start things off by setting the stage. Okay, Canada has a housing crisis. We're pretty sure everyone is aware of that at this point.
And solving a housing crisis is hard. A crisis is, by its very definition, a complicated time of intense difficulty. There's usually no quick fix for a crisis.
Exactly, Dan. You need multiple solutions, multiple fixes, and this recent one seems to be the newest possible solution put forward by the current Canadian government. Okay, so let's start off by looking at this article from CTV titled "Feds Seek to Convert Dozens of Government Properties for Affordable Housing." Dan, start me off with a quick excerpt from this article.
The federal government has added 56 properties to a new public lands bank of locations that are suitable for long-term leases so developers can build housing. A move the housing minister says will help boost the supply of homes Canadians can afford. Sean Fraser made the announcement in Halifax. Making public lands available for home construction is going to reduce the cost of construction and in turn reduce the cost of living, Fraser said.
So former military bases, Canada Post sites, and federal office buildings alike are among the properties currently included in this public lands bank, many of which were previously set aside for sale and that are no longer in use. Now, the plan is to offer most of them for long-term leases rather than a one-time sale. That is in order to keep the lands in public hands and ensure that housing built on them remains affordable.
The current list includes properties in 28 municipalities in 7 provinces, what will grow over time through an ongoing review of underused or vacant federal land and buildings. And this was outlined in the housing plan. They did say they were going to do this, so nobody should really be surprised that they were going to do that, or that they did this per se. But they finally actually come out and announced it and listed the properties. And we had Sean Fraser on the show to discuss their housing plan, and we also had the Shadow Housing Minister, so his opposition, Scott Aitchison, on to kind of critique it as well. So I feel like if you ever get a chance, go back and listen to that episode. Yeah. It was a good episode on sort of the whole thing.
Both sides of that picture. Yeah, both gentlemen very well spoken, and both actually quoted in the next couple of paragraphs here. And Dan, I'd argue I think people are surprised when governments actually do keep their words. There's a lot of announcements that end up nowhere. So I think this is interesting regardless of what happens. Now, 5 of those properties that they mentioned out of the 56 that were proposed are now moving into the development phase, with governments asking developers for expressions of interest or requests for proposals, otherwise known as RFPs. 4 of them are on former military bases in Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, and Ottawa, while the 5th is on the site of a former National Film Board building in Montreal.
Conservative housing critic Scott Aitchison dismissed the latest plan as a repeat of something Liberals have been promising to do since 2015. The Tories pointed out both the 2015 Liberal platform and 17 platform promised an inventory of public lands to make more properties available for affordable housing. It took 9 years after he promised to build homes on federal lands for Justin Trudeau to actually identify the few parcels of land he would build on, Aitchison said. In a video statement shared to social media, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took a shot at Pierre Poilievre over the use of federal land, saying the Conservative Party leader wants to sell it all off and make a quick buck. I would actually not mind if our government made a quick buck at this point.
What is wrong with making a quick buck?
Well, I mean, they need money, so
yeah,
that does nothing for you. I mean, in fairness, if it balanced the budget, it could help on the tax side. Maybe I don't know.
No. The budget balances itself.
Right.
Remember?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, for those longtime listeners, Dana and I don't enjoy getting too political on the show, but I mean, honestly, it's impossible in today's day and age with
For sure.
the subject matter that we cover. So,
well, and I would also say like the biggest person who can impact the outcome of your investment right now, or the biggest group, is the government, right? Like you look at in the last episode we were talking about Calgary, they upzoned to 8 units on residential lots across the city. Like if you owned a lot a year ago, your output value just went from 1 unit or 2 units, maybe a duplex, to 8.
Yeah.
So like that's a significant impact. So the government is worth discussing in that context, and it just so happens that everything that they're battling about right now is related to what we're talking about because it's housing, right?
Now